The Sonata Hyundai loaned us is classified as a large car, according to the EPA. This year it keeps its looks and adds more apps.
There's no search result.
Which aren't perfect. It told us there was no Best Buy within 100 miles of the Best Buy parking lot. It does have a deceptively large auto-opening trunk. It's a very nice riding, quiet car. Our Sport 2.0T makes 245 horsepower when you need it, but also gets 32 highway. With its 2-liter turbo, the Sonata can actually save you gas when going and stopping, because after you turn off the engine in the Sonata, you get a pleasant tone, and then for 3 minutes you can still work the windows, wrap up that app, and more importantly, finish that song on the radio. Use it all day, and shutting off right away adds up. Hyundai's not the only car maker with this technology, but you wouldn't know it. We love to idle, idle, and idle. This guy sat in his running truck for more than 16 minutes, with another truck idling beside him.
There's just no reason.
Dr. Randy Martin studies how efficient your car is, starting up, warmed up, and idling.
You could argue that, well, when you start up your car, there is a little bit of flood of rich fuel, so you're burning a little more than you would, but it still doesn't equal to that extended idle period.
New technologies have been implemented in vehicles. Those improvements require minimal fuel for startup. So today, 10 seconds of idling, that's equivalent to starting your vehicle.
Still, we sit in our running cars. Andrew Semodeni's environmental science class observed idling at Logan High School.
Most of the time, they were just waiting to pick up a student. That was the main reason. The delivery people were fairly fast, or they would turn off their cars and go inside.
Most of the cars, I think, were fairly efficient.
I'm waiting for my daughter.
They picked up their student and then they left. But there are those that come and wait for 5 to 10 minutes, and definitely they should be turning their key.
These people, they're wasting fuel. They're wasting energy.
The Sonata's technology helps, but it's not a requirement.
Just shut your damn car off. It doesn't need to run. Each one of us is part of the problem. So each one of us has to be part of the solution.
Brian Champagne, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, Friday is car day here on Live at 4, and Brian Champagne thinks we all need a lesson about idling, right, Tamara?
Oh, yeah. You know, there's different reasons why we idle. You know, people want their car, they want it to warm up. Some want to just keep themselves warm as well. Well, today our car guy takes on all the idling theories with some help from experts.
Why are all these vehicles running their engines and not going anywhere? We don't know, but we do know idling drivers don't like to be asked about it.
I appreciate it. If you would never do that again.
Why do you idle?
Because I was just sitting in my car waiting.
Because I wanted to stay warm.
We tested the staying warm excuse. We drove a Jeep Wrangler, a vehicle not known for great insulation, down to the library. Outside was about freezing. Inside started at 87. Then me and Lily sat and waited to get cold. And waited. After 8 minutes, it was still 77. It has now been 24 minutes sitting in the car without the engine running. It is 31 degrees outside, and in the car, 74.1 degrees. I'm comfortable in just jeans and a t-shirt. Finally, after 45 minutes, it was still 70 degrees inside. And we quit and went in to get some new books. For the "my engine needs to warm up" excuse, consider the Toyota Tacoma. It'll claw its way up nasty hills, but needs no warm-up.
You turn the key, you let the engine's going to increase in RPMs, it's going to drop back down, you put it in gear and drive away.
Swears should know better than your father, better than your mechanic.
I'm chief engineer, so I'm in charge of the vehicle from the ground up, from a blank piece of paper all the way till it goes to production.
Jeep engineers say the same thing, start it and go. And pre-warming the inside for yourself at 13 degrees for the truck to warm enough for the automatic heater to turn on. We burned almost 6 minutes of fuel just idling. Another morning, 6 degrees colder, we started it and took off. Heating temp took about a minute less, and we were about 1.5 miles down the road. As for that chilly driving time, studies show being cold for a bit burns calories. Did you know that's illegal?
I didn't.
Not illegal.
No, I didn't.
You didn't know that? It is against the law in several Utah cities.
It is about a culture of selfishness in a way.
The Logan Council passed an anti-idling ordinance in 2014.
Because I was listening to music. Because I was waiting for my friend to come.
While illegal, that still sounds better than running your truck while you shop, something this guy's owner's manual says is dangerous, or sleeping with the window half open. And we still haven't hit the pollution factor.
I can unequivocally say that idling is not the way to go.
Dr. Martin would know.
For the past year and a half, we've measured actual idling vehicles. We know what they emit compared to when you shut it off and restart it.
His team studies habits.
At banks, 13.5% idle.
And how much they pollute. Today, a toxicology student is weighing the junk cars and other polluters put into your air. The orange bars in this study show how much more junk you spew idling versus the shut it off and restart pink bars.
We know that your emissions are much, much less just by shutting your car off. The great rule of thumb is when you put your car in park, shut it off.
Brian Champagne, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Fish and wildlife officers are trying to stop the spread of the invasive quagga mussel from lake to lake in Utah, but other species are also spreading on land. Brian Champagne shows how you might be part of the problem whenever you drive in the mud or weeds.
Here in Utah, we love our wild areas. Maybe too much.
The general public doesn't ever think about it.
Ralph Whitesides is a weed scientist. Their studies show that one ATV can pick up 4,200 seeds per mile off-road. Trailer your ATV or drive your Jeep somewhere else and
they're probably responsible for the introduction of species. Hikers are another good example. Many hikers have weed seeds caught in their pants and in their shoes and on the shoelaces, never thinking that as they pick it off and throw it on the ground, that they've been responsible for introducing something that may or may not occur in this particular area.
It's spread by people, by vehicles, by animals. It appears to actually be able to move with the wind.
Corey Ransom studies the spread of Dyer's woad. It was brought here from Russia but escaped its farmed area.
Dyer's woad initially was found along some of the main highways through the areas like Logan Canyon, but now we're seeing it spreading into areas that are primarily ATV or four-wheeler traffic areas.
Non-native species increase fire danger, take over farmland and rangeland, which drives up beef prices. After urban sprawl, the Division of Wildlife Resources says weeds are the biggest threat to wildlife habitat. They take water, soil nutrients, and light away from the plants that belong here.
And in many cases, the native plants were palatable to the livestock or the wildlife that were there, and the invasive plants are not.
So the animals have been leaving Dyer's woad alone, and that let it overrun much of Cache Valley.
And so the focus needs to be on areas where it's not yet found and trying to prevent seeds from being moved into those areas.
Jake and Levi Mond keep their dirt bikes on the trails.
You don't really ride through the weeds too much.
Okay.
Yeah, like that. That's a very good example.
These kind of people that ride off the trail are actually who gives people that dirt bike ride a really bad name.
And the Monds keep their bikes clean.
It's a matter of just thinking about it in advance and being aware.
It is a tough little plant.
Whiteside says wash the junk off where you got it. He cringes when he sees a muddy Jeep, knowing what's inside the mud and who it affects.
These issues are everyone's problem.
Brian Champagne, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, when you're driving in storms like we've had lately, you might be wishing your car had four-wheel drive. But as car guy Brian Champagne tells us, it's a great option, but you don't use it that much over the long haul.
When snow falls, it's tempting to think you must have a four-wheel drive like the GX460 Lexus loaned us. Nothing's unstoppable, but it's hard to stop. And you're all spoiled with the Lexus traction and luxury stuff. But that's $68,000, and you get a combined 17 miles per gallon the rest of the year. Spend about $1,000 less a year in gas by going car. The Audi A3 and Chrysler 200 we borrowed both have all-wheel drive available, but only in a package with other upgrades. Audi all-wheel drive will run you $3,300 more. the Chrysler 4200. Snow is easier to drive on with all four wheels pushing. The Loaner 200 pulls with just front-wheel drive, but we couldn't test it on snow because it was gone the next day. For the most part, a plow has you covered. According to UDOT, our roads have snow or slush 30 to 40 days a year, but a lot of that is overnight. Add 10 days if you commute through Parley's Canyon. And chains or all-wheel drive are only required on Parley's 3 to 5 days a year. Would you spend $3 grand more, plus more for gas year-round for something you need a fraction of the time you drive? Or can we compare things like the dial shifter in the 200 to the dial everything else in the Audi, which is a pain? The 200 lets you touch a screen or a button. If you need four-wheel drive for the other stuff you do, let it be a factor. But snow is just 8% of your driving here. Brian Champagne, Fox 13 News, Utah.